share screen. test. Yes, Jim? Okay.
The mics are on now.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. The time is 5 p.m. The regular meeting of the following will come to order. The Victorville City Council and the same council also sitting as the Victorville Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, the City as Housing Assets successor, Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Becerra.
Present.
Councilmember Gomez.
Buenas tardes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
Present.
Mayor Jones.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We do have a quorum. And before I move on to the introduction to public comments on closed session items, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
Yes, I would like to speak.
Madam Clerk, are there any requests by Zoom to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, there's
Councilmember
one hand that
Gomez,
just
if you would
popped up.
make your way to the podium.
Did you hear Jennifer?
And
I'm just making sure because I don't want to go in front if you like to always take Zoom people.
so she responded, and so you're free to make your way down to the podium.
Okay, so there's also someone that would like to speak on Zoom.
So ladies and gentlemen, Councilmember Gomez wishes at this time to speak as a member of the public as to our closed session item. She does so without the color of authority, and the audience will, as it does with all speakers, have to decide for itself how much weight and credibility to give the comments of Ms. Gomez. Welcome, Ms. Gomez.
So I have a couple of questions and I'm going to do it bilingual. That's what I can do. And this is in reference to the closed session item.
As to the closed session item, yes, ma'am.
I'm not a man, but you're welcome. So will the city of Victorville only be speaking of the letters that were received from Scott Rafferty between August 12th through September 27, or will other ideas be incorporated, such as compensation, and after those dates enlisted in the agenda? Mi primer pregunta fue, este concejal, según dice que solamente va a hablar de las cartas que recibieron de Scott Rafferty entre agosto 12 al 27, o serán otras ideas incorporadas como el pago al abogado y otras fechas fuera de las que tenemos en la agenda. Will we have this calendar every meeting here until December 26, 2021? ¿Tendremos esto en el calendario, en la agenda, en nuestras juntas después o antes del 26 de diciembre? ¿Seguiremos viendo esto igual día tras día? And what is the purpose of keeping this item on closed session agenda? Y la última pregunta que tengo para exponer es, ¿cuál es el propósito de mantener la junta que vamos a ver en sesión cerrada de nuevo en nuestra agenda? Muchas gracias al público por ser parte de lo que está sucediendo hoy.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Madam Clerk, Member Gomez stated that there was somebody on Zoom who wished to speak. Do you have a raised hand?
I do.
All right, thank you. So with that said, once the comments are invited, the speaker will be called on my name, then be recognized by the presiding officer. And so with that said, Madam Clerk, will you please announce who the speaker is? And this is as to the closed session item.
Scott Rafferty.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Rafferty.
Good
Thank
evening.
you. It's strange, but not unprecedented to have someone accuse a council member of being my client in an action adverse to the city. It never ends well. I understand that you don't control what the former mayor said, but it's not protected by the First Amendment. It's made in conscious disregard of the truth. The Victor Valley agreement does not say what he says it said, both orally and in his writing, which should have been produced prior to the beginning of this session under the Brown Act, since it has been requested some time ago under the Public Records Act. Ms. Gomez does have a right to respond. The Brown Act does not prevent council members from responding to agendized items, and certainly doesn't prevent them from interacting with people who offer testimony at public hearings. I just hope we get past this. It was a transparent effort to frankly, to threaten at least two members of the council, and it needs to be called out just for the integrity of the process. So I hope that's possible. And I have spoken to Ms. Gomez. I've met her at social gatherings of supporters of district elections. That's completely fine with the state bar rules. And I'm equally available to any of you. Just call me anytime. And I've met with former mayors and council members who love the idea of district elections. I had not had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Cox or Mr. McEachran, but this is going to be an open book. There's not going to be a secret settlement like Mr. McEachran suggested. So let's just try to treat each other with some decency and integrity, because I think that's what the public expects and is entitled to. So thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to working with you. And usually these maps are unanimous. I mean, there's no reason why there shouldn't be. You've got an excellent demographer, and I think we're going to get there. So let's all try to just make this work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rafferty. We appreciate your input. Mr. DeBortnowski, did you wish to respond to that in any way?
No, not at this time. I don't think it
Thank you.
requires a response at this time.
Sure. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, any other requests to speak?
No, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
with that said, will you please set the timer for 30 seconds in the event that someone who wishes to speak is having technical difficulties that allow them time to overcome those difficulties?
Thirty seconds is up. I have no additional speakers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we're going to move on to the declaration of closed session items. Mr. DeBortnowski.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. We have one item this evening, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D2 and pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 E3. The facts and circumstances related to that are set forth on the agenda. To the extent there's reportable action, we will report it either at the conclusion of the closed session or at the commencement of the regular 6 o'clock session.
Thank you, Mr. DeBortnowski. All right, we're in recess to closed session. We will resume open session at 6 p.m. Good evening. Today is Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. The time is 6 p.m. We are resuming the regular session of our regular meeting, the following of which will come to order. The Victorville City Council and the same council also sitting as the Victorville Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, the City is Housing Asset Successor, Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Becerra. Councilmember Gomez.
Buenas tardes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
Present.
Mayor Jones.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We do have a quorum and we'll continue with our business. Mr. D. Bortnowski, do you have any closed session announcements to make?
Thank you, Mayor Jones. We had one closed session item this evening. It was anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D2 and pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 E3. The facts and circumstances related to that are set forth on the agenda. At this time, there is no reportable action with respect to that item.
Thank you, Mr. D. Bortnowski. All right, we're going to move on to our invocation by Pastor Elijah Walling of Calvary Chapel, Victorville. And then after that, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Police Captain John Wickham. Is our pastor with us? Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. All right, would you join me in prayer? Lord, we come before you now and thank you for allowing us to be here today in the City of Victorville Council meeting. Lord, it says in your word in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, therefore I exhort first of all that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and reverence. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God, our Savior, who desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. And so, God, our prayer today is for those that you have placed in authority here in the city of Victorville. I thank you that you have chosen and placed those who are here in the city council. And I ask that you continue to give them the knowledge and wisdom they need to make decisions on behalf of this city. And Lord, I pray as this verse that we read stated, that us citizens would have a reverence and respect for our governing authorities and live peaceably among our fellow citizens. And I also pray and ask that your truth would lead this meeting tonight. The city of Victorville would operate in truth and not in deceit, in the light and not in darkness. We give thanks to you, God, for you are the one who sits on the heavenly throne, and nothing here on earth happens outside your will. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Captain.
One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor, and thank you, Captain Wickham.
I
All
don't see
right, well,
Captain
with that
Wickham.
said, we're now going to move on.
It was Lieutenant Peterson, I believe. Peterson, P-E-D-E-R-S-O-N.
okay, I have placed Captain Wickham on my agenda. Moving on. All right, so we're now going to move on to our proclamations and special presentations. So with that said, Mr. Metzler, I believe we have some good news this evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. We do in fact have good news. We have in fact successfully ran, I should start out by saying we've successfully recruited for, hired and ran new firefighters through our second academy. So with that, we have a brief presentation and a large introduction that's going to be led by our fire chief, Mr. Jeff Armstrong. I'll call Mr. Armstrong up and he can lead the presentation.
I guess I was Mr. Armstrong in my entourage. Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. It's my distinct honor to stand before you tonight and introduce the newest members of the Rio Vista, the Victorville Fire Department. Boy, that was a snafu. I told you I was going to mess up someone. My apologies. First, I will start with the ranked individuals that came to us from outside the organization during a recent promotional and testing process. Engineer Grant DeRose. He joins us with 15 years of experience, more recently at Camp Pendleton. He joins us as a fire engineer. Battalion Chief Brian Fallon. He joins us with 16 years of experience in the fire service and comes to us from the Rancho Cucamonga Fire District. Also, I need to mention two other members that couldn't be here tonight because they were in training. Battalion Chief Deputy Fire Marshal Mike Goff. I know many of you have met that individual, and Tina Lopez, who joined us as a fire administrator. Both of these individuals have already hit the ground running, and are making huge impacts on our organization, but unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but I did want to make sure that I mentioned them. Now, in a brief ceremony, Chief Fallon's badge will be pinned by his wife, Amber. And Engineer DeRose's wife, Natalie, could not be present, and he has asked me out in the foyer to pin his badge, which is a huge honor, and I'm willing to oblige. All right, now continuing with the introductions of the Victorville Fire Department members. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our 6 new recruit firefighter paramedics. Richard Gilmartin, James Lamon, Andrew Wallace, Marcus Phillips, Kaylee Moreno.
Yay, we have a woman.
Marcio Glenn. These recruit firefighters are in their final week of an arduous 8-week training academy. During this time, they've had the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge, skills, and abilities to be a professional firefighter with the city of Victorville. This academy is kind of special. Firefighter Moreno, you step forward. Firefighter Moreno represents the first full-time female firefighter we've had in Victorville. We're excited to have her on board, and I know she's going to be a leader in the community in no time. Their hard work and accomplishments will be recognized this Thursday when they formally graduate the academy. Their families will be present, and that's when they will get presented with the badges, much like what you saw over here. We look forward to welcoming you to the Victorville family. Tower 3, you're dismissed.
Thank you, Chief Armstrong, and congratulations to all of our new additions to Victorville. You will make us proud, I'm sure. All right, moving on. Madam Clerk, will you kindly present the agenda and any revisions thereto?
Madam Mayor, there are no revisions to the agenda.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to conflict of interest declarations by council members. Are there any to declare, colleagues? Seeing and hearing none, we're going to move on to the introduction to public comments. But before I do that, Madam Clerk, are there requests to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right, well, welcome to tonight's meeting of the Victorville City Council. Your city council is interested in your ideas and opinions, and furthermore endeavors to incorporate them into its deliberations. At the same time, the council must be able to carry out its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, this meeting will be administered in accordance with Government Code Section 54957.9 and the City Council's established policies and procedures. Individuals may speak on agenda items or on issues not posted on the agenda during the public comment section, providing those issues are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Individual speakers may address the council once per public comment period and once per each public hearing item for up to 3 minutes. Additional time may be allocated for appeal hearings in accordance with the city's adopted policy and procedures manual. All testimony must be directed solely to the council, and open meeting laws do not permit council members to engage in dialogue during the public comment periods. Speakers are requested to comment as briefly as the subject permits. Whether attending this meeting in person or via Zoom, once comments are invited, the speaker will be called on by name, then recognized by the presiding officer. The speaker will state the item number that will be addressed or that the subject is a non-agendized matter. Audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, and those who do are subject to removal from the meeting pursuant to Penal Code 403. Your understanding and cooperation are appreciated. Madam Clerk, may we have speakers from in chambers?
David Velos.
Good evening and welcome, sir.
Honorable Congress members, my voice, my district. About 4 years ago, I signed a petition here in Victorville, which is trying to have 9 unnamed people to divide districts here in California. But just after I signed it, I changed my mind and crossed my name off the list. I thought this is giving too much power to 9 people I'd known nothing about. Today, we call that attempt to move the district boundaries redistricting. It is being pushed by Republicans. Why are they pushing this? So they can be in charge of every aspect of our lives. They want total power over us. One good example is the new abortion law in Texas. It is introduced by Republican state officials who found a loophole to take away a woman's right to choose, even if it is a right given to women by the Constitution. What's next? Freedom of speech? If Donald Trump is reelected, they will find a loophole that you cannot say anything negative against the President of the United States. Next will be a right to bear arms. Yes, that is possible. The Constitution will cease to exist. This will not be a democracy anymore. It will be a dictatorship. Leave our districts alone. I just want to quickly demonstrate what's happening here too. Some people, my neighbors didn't know. Okay, here's District 1, the Democrat congressman. Here's District 2 with another Democratic congressman. What they have done is to diminish power by combining this. This has happened. Combine this into one district, and then here appears District 3, which a Republican congressman can take over. This increases Republican power. This diminishes Democratic power. And I don't want any part of that. So I'm just speaking up right now. And I hope everybody understands what I said. Thank you.
We did, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your comments with us. Madam Clerk?
Rafael Porras on a non-agendized item.
Thank you, Mr. Porras. Welcome.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Rafael Porras. I'm on 4 radio station here in the city of Victorville. 3 in Spanish, 1 in English ones. I want to put in one on my station to service to this information to the community, to the district. And authorize my broadcasting director to send the email to the city manager today to put in my station available to get the information. But you know, this place is supposed to be full today. And no communication between the city to the people living in Victor. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porras. Madam Clerk?
Lizette Angulo.
Ms. Angulo, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Pro Tem, and council members. I'm here regarding your redistricting meetings and public hearings. I see that you only have one in Spanish. I was wondering if you're going to be having closed caption on Zoom, or if you're going to have any interpreters for them if they come here in person. That is just my understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Angulo. Madam Clerk?
Maggie Martin on a non-agendized item.
Thank you. Ms. Martin, welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. It has been a year and a half since I've been in these chambers doing meetings by Zoom.
Could you speak up just a little bit, Ms. Martin? Thank you.
It's good to see you all, and it's been a year and a half since I've been in chambers. Let me get to, and I'm going to ask the chair to, or request to the chair that any time that I lose due to any interruption by any person in the audience or on the dais, that my time be reclaimed. So,
Ms. Martin, just so you know that whenever there's someone at the podium speaking, and if I for any reason have to interrupt, our Madam Clerk knows to pause the time so that the speaker doesn't pay for that interruption by the chair.
thank you, Madam. So I got a few things I'm going to touch on. And we're going to kind of go around the map a little bit here. But I want to let you know that I am in possession of documents that are public record to the San Bernardino County Courthouse. Filing of charges against Councilmember Blanca Gomez. So we're going to start with file date November 1st, 2021. Case number MB 2100723, Court Victorville Criminal, case type misdemeanor, and then the judicial officer's name, active status. The parties, the plaintiff, obviously, people of the state of California, defendant Blanca, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her middle name. It's very pretty though. Last name Gomez and alias is stated. She doesn't have as many as me. So we're going to read the charges. I'm going to read the charges. This is for the benefit of the public, and I'll be sharing it all over the Inland Empire. So it's PC 148, obstructs, resists a public officer, misdemeanor, July 20th, 2021. Next one, PC 148, A1, pardon me, both of those are A1 misdemeanor, so there's 2 counts basically. Obstructs, resists public officer, misdemeanor, also July 20th, 2021. Next one, PC 403, misdemeanor, disturbance, etc. at an assembly, misdemeanor, 7/20/21. 7/20/21, I'm sorry. Another count of PC 148, obstructs, resists public officer, 148A1, misdemeanor, 6/2/2021. I'm thinking that's Panera Bread. Next one, PC 242, love this one. M Battery, love that, love it. Misdemeanor, June 2nd, 2021, I'm assuming also at Panera Bread. These filings were on the 1st and 2nd. So bringing that before the public, so the public knows exactly what a fine, upstanding, law-abiding citizen we have for a council member. So transitioning to this. So this is just a half of a letter I started to get to today. So
Your time is up.
I'm sorry?
Your time is up.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Madam Clerk.
Chef Basil on a non-agendized item.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Kimbrough.
Good evening to Madam Mayor and to Council. I noticed at the last hearing, there was an indication that you would have Spanish speakers. My understanding, right, for the various different hearings.
That's my understanding. Please proceed, Mr. Kimbrough.
But when I saw this right here in regards to, I was in the community was under the impression that you were going to have a public hearing at some type of location, such as you're doing at the transportation center. We didn't know until a couple of days ago that it's a Zoom. And so my question is now to the mayor, are you going to have more than one Spanish speaking? Or
So-
who's ever hosting?
Mr. Kimbrough, all of that information is online, but Mr. Metzler, if you'd like to quickly respond to that, but just because I think there seems to be some misunderstanding here.
Correct. So we do have a community workshop scheduled this Saturday. It will be principally in English, but we will have a Spanish translator available so that if there is a need. And then as we give the presentation this Saturday, there'll also be an English and Spanish PowerPoint presentation. Separate from that, we have a dedicated Zoom workshop that'll be in Spanish only. And then we have a third community workshop that'll be Zoom English only.
My question was though, is there ever going to be a public meeting where the Hispanics can come at one location? I understand what Zoom is, but that's my question.
To my
No, they're
knowledge-
not.
Member Gomez is out
They're
of
not.
order and will suspend. The member will bring herself to order. She's not been recognized by the chair. Mr. Kimbrough, will you continue? And then perhaps after the meeting, you can connect with our city manager to get some of those details. But certainly this is an open and transparent process, and we intend for it to be so. So if you'd like to continue, please do.
Yeah, I was only referring to what was on here when I saw. So that's why I was asking these questions. And I'll try to call the city manager.
Sure.
So don't waste time. And then the other question I had was, I had requested a sign language person. We have a lot of community people that need sign language. I know there's the CC captured audience, but I had requested that there be a sign language person to also help the community. Is that possible?
Thank you, Mr. Kimbrough. I'm not going to answer those questions. We're not going to get into a to and fro dialogue from behind the dais.
I can't.
We're not going to get into a to and fro dialogue behind the dais, but you're welcome to present the city manager with that question after the meeting.
I had another question, just can't think of what it was. Still got time. I'm sorry. It comes with
No
overhead.
worries.
I can't. I'll bring it up sometime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kimbrough, as always. Madam Clerk?
That concludes. in
No, I would like
person.
to speak as well.
Thank you. So Member Gomez, if you would like to make your way down to the podium. So ladies and gentlemen, Councilmember Gomez has chosen to speak as a member of the public on the agenda. She has every right to do that. However, when she does that, she does it without the color of authority, not with any of the attendant rights as a council member, and the audience is requested to weigh her comments as it would any other public speaker. You'll have to determine what weight and credibility you want to give to Ms. Gomez's comments. Ms. Gomez, if you would help us by letting us know which items you wish to speak to and or if it's a non-agendized matter.
Public comment.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yes, this is Blanca Gomez. I've been in office for 5 years and I am speaking as a member of the public. So clarification, there's only going to be one Spanish speaking meeting, and it will only be via Zoom. So if you're not literate in when it comes to any kind of technology, you're shit out of luck, pretty much.
The audience member will refrain from using coarse language.
That was what was stated. And of course, if it's not in recording, right, we can't have it, but that's what was said. Right, Mr. Mesler? Of course, you're not going to agree with me, but that's what was said. So it's shit out of luck.
Ms. Gomez
So-
is and will refrain from that kind of language, please. Please continue.
Okay, and so only one meeting will be held in via Zoom. So we won't have any other meetings. And November 6th, by the way, was something that was just added. We had in our presentation, council received a presentation. November 6th was not stated to be a community meeting. And all of a sudden now we have a meeting November 6th. So there's a lot of confusion from the public, from everything that's online and everything that's being stated. So I can see the confusion. So I can't apologize on behalf of the city. I just can try to clarify some of the things that I've come into confusion. There's also another thing. Our seats are elected bipartisan. Becerra's a Republican. Jones is a Republican. I think Irving is still registered as a Democrat, and I'm registered as a Democrat. So you have this going on. So for those of you who think you're voting for nonpartisan or what would be seats that you're not supposed to know, it's very 2 Republicans and 1.5 maybe Democrat or so. You can see it in the voting. The other thing that I want to share with you also is you have a heckler, Maggie Martin, part of the team over here. She always heckles. She brings anything and everything under the table. July 20th, I was arrested. October 13th, there was no conviction. So look at the records. It's who you want to believe. It's been very clear that the administration in the city of Victorville feels very alarmed by my presence. So they're going to do anything under the sun as to collaborate with the sheriff's department, with the mayor, with the 22 years standing Keith Messer, with Mr. Dubanowski, who's been here 30 years. It's just, do your best. Do what you think you need to do, but I'm going to still keep exposing this. And thank you for not shutting me. Typically, Ms. Jones does try to shut me down, especially if I'm speaking Spanish. So I appreciate that today you were very patient. Let me speak a little bit more than I would have, because you don't agree with me, and many of those at the dais don't agree with me. Another thing that I wanted to share was we need more interpretation services, and there is a need. There's a population that's over 55% Hispanic, and a lot of them speak Spanish. Becerra doesn't really speak the language, but I understand that, she wants to represent, and it's been very hard for a lot of people who want the language to be heard. Thank you.
Madam Clerk. Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Madam Clerk. Any other requests from in chambers?
No, all are via Zoom.
I'm sorry?
No, Madam Mayor,
Okay,
the rest are
so-
via Zoom.
Thank you. So with that said, the in chambers public comment is concluded. Now move to our Zoom audience. Madam Clerk.
Scott Rafferty.
Welcome, Mr. Rafferty.
Thank you. I had some concerns that I expressed bluntly before the closed session, but I want to strike a more positive note and just remind everybody of what the object here of district elections is. We heard complaints from former mayors at the last session about decorum in the council chambers, and that's all going to change. Each of you are going to have a new boss, one that the people in your own neighborhoods, and they're going to hold you accountable. They're going to expect you to be good negotiators, and they're going to feel heard when you present their case to the council. and you're going to respect each other in an entirely new way. It's not going to be 5 people with exactly the same job, and that job is to have the right answer for every single person in the city, which is a pretty tall claim. You're not going to have to upstage each other. You're going to have to listen to each other. And that's going to be the new normal. So having said that, to get there, you really need to engage with the community. And I would take very seriously the concerns about notice, about when you have a meeting in Spanish, there still needs to be an interpreter, because this is a dialogue. This is the Spanish community speaking to those who may not speak Spanish, and vice versa. So it's relatively easy to get interpretation with Zoom. And Ms. Garcia at the last meeting, that second pre-map hearing, that's a wonderful tutorial. That really could be on your website. You could prepare people for these meetings. And you need to go out of your way. I was so pleased to hear Pastor Porras volunteer his radio stations, but also to find physical venues where the Latino community and every community is comfortable. You know, not just the city council, but out in the community and meeting them where they are. And it won't be easy to get the minority community to come out. You need to work with religious leaders. I hope you do all these things, because it's going to lead to a better result. And it really is unusual for cities not to take these extra efforts to be inclusive in this process, because it is about transforming the government of the city. So I hope those are useful comments. We're always here to share our experiences from other cities, but please post everything, post videos of these hearings so people can catch up if they aren't able to come in person. So thank you again, and good luck in this effort.
Thank you, Mr. Rafferty. We appreciate your comments. And just to confirm once again, Mr. Metzler, there is going to be translation services available.
This Saturday, there will be translation services available.
All right, Madam Clerk.
The telephone number ending in 8563.
Welcome, sir or madam.
Hi, good evening, council. This is Karima Abdul Kabir calling in today.
Yes, good evening and welcome.
Yeah.
Did you have a particular item that you wish to speak to?
No, I just want to respond to some of the comments and some of the things that I had hoped would be on the agenda. So, yes. So first of all, you know, for those who are celebrating this Dia de Muertos, yes, I hope you have the chance to honor your ancestors and past relatives in peace. And for everyone else, we're all done with Halloween. Yes, one of the comments that I heard was something about access, and I am for an in-person meeting as well. We have City Hall in person, so it's a little bit strange to have a redistricting meeting only on Zoom, and that, you know, that blocks out a certain part of the population who's not as tech savvy as we are. So that's very concerning that we don't have a physical meeting. It kind of seems like people took the quick and easy way out, which I get it, super convenient. But we need to see a lot more effort to outreach into the community, people need to take the time to find those, you know, reserve those buildings and get the word out in the community. So I would definitely support the call for a physical redistricting meeting in the Old Town or other areas. So that's one thing. And then I'm going to finish with our bus service is still lagging. We have multiple routes, multiple means of transportation, which are going hours. People are going hours waiting for buses. And I know we contract with the company, and labor shortages are a national issue, but I hope our bus company is really taking the time to make sure that the people of Victorville, the disabled, the elderly, youth, and low-income people, essential workers have the ability to come and go in Victorville and get their essential needs met. So I'm still very concerned about that issue as well. So to wrap it up, to those who celebrate, I hope you have a great Dia de Muertos. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abdul Kabir. And Mr. Metzler, just to clarify once again, we are going to have a variety of meetings in the community, some by Zoom, and certainly more public hearings as the redistricting process goes forward.
That is correct. And just to reiterate, this Saturday's meeting with a interpreter will be in person at the Transit Center between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.
Thank you. And I remember in some earlier correspondence that there was a date of November 6th set, but now it sounds like it's being alleged that there's been some confusion as to that date. I always saw that date posted from the very beginning in our social media, et cetera. Am I mistaken on that?
That's the same date I've been aware of since we started this process.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. All right, Madam Clerk.
Roger LaPlante.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Plant. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. It's LaPlante. Thank you. And council. And I want to thank the city of Victorville for finally going to districting. That's really made me happy here lately. Just thank you for following the California Constitution and the state law that you guys swore an oath to. It refreshes my vigor. But I'm going to take my battle elsewhere. I really enjoyed serving this community, and I thank the city of Victorville first and foremost for obeying the law. That allows me to go play golf. So you guys have a great time with that, and I'm gonna retire. So you guys, mission accomplished. Thank you, Victorville.
Mr. LaPlante, thank you so much. Enjoy your golf and your retirement. Much success to you with that. All right, Madam Clerk.
There are no additional speakers.
Thank you. With that said, will you kindly set the timer for 30 seconds in case we have Zoom speakers who would like to speak but are having technical difficulties? This will allow them time to overcome those challenges.
Thirty seconds has lapsed and there are no additional speakers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With that said, the public comment period is now closed and the chair brings this item back to the council. Before we move on to our first business in order, which is public hearings, the chair is going to announce that we're going to have a minor change in the order of business. We're going to take up item number 8 to just prior to item number 6. So it'll be the first matter to take up under the written communications section. With that said, we are going to now take up item number 1 in the public hearing section. This is the annexation of tract map number 16894 into citywide drainage facilities assessment district number 1. That's DFAD 1. Mr. Metzler, will you kindly introduce the item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This item is involving a DFAD, which is an acronym for the Drainage Facilities Assessment District. And this item is a property owner initiated process where effectively the property owner is asking to have itself assessed an assessment charge in perpetuity, effectively to pay for costs associated in this case with drainage related improvements affecting the subdivision. This is involving a subdivision that is 142 lots, generally in the location of the southeast corner of Mojave Drive and Onyx. This is the final step in the process. We started months ago with the initiation of proceedings. Then we subsequently adopted the city engineer's report and set a public hearing date. That public hearing date, in fact, is today. So with that, this item is before you. The city clerk likely has received responses to the ballot, our ballots that had been sent out, and it's likely time to review the results of that election.
All right, thank you, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
That the Honorable City Council conduct a public hearing, take testimony, conclude the public hearing, and direct the city clerk to tabulate the assessment ballots. Determine if a majority protest exists, and if no majority protest exists, adopt resolution number 21-048 to approve the final engineer's report and order the levy of assessments for fiscal year 2022-2023.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, Council, we're now going to get into technical questions for clarification as it relates to the staff report, and we're going to begin this evening with Member Becerra. Thank you. Member Gomez.
Yes. Has the city already performed future assessments to other DFADs that you may use to explain how subsequent annual assessments will be levied? And is that similar to the water rate increase presentation and schedule of fees? I'm just trying to get an understanding.
So Member Gomez, this is related specifically to this particular one that's posted on the agenda.
Yes, it's annexation for track map number 16894.
Yes, so Mr. Metzler, if you want to answer that in some way as it relates to the agenda item.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. So first, this is not any different than the very traditional property owner initiated assessments that we do for things like LMADs, which are landscape maintenance assessment districts. We also have what's called MADs, which are maintenance assessment districts. And so these are fairly common as mechanisms used to mitigate costs associated with the subdivision and ultimate build out of residential tracts. So much different than what Councilmember Gomez, I believe, is trying to suggest with respect to water rates. Completely different subject, completely different process. This is more so directly related to having a money mechanism in place to pay for the costs associated with the improvements that are built with this subdivision.
Are there examples of non-citywide drainage facility assessment districts and who pays for their perpetual maintenance?
Okay, so Member Gomez, this is related specifically to this particular one. It's not an agenda item to take up the whole concept for any and all DFADs, et cetera, within the community. It's related particularly to this one. So if you kindly tailor your questions, it would be helpful.
Yes. So once again, the scope of the question, which was not understood by the mayor, is are there examples of non-citywide drainage facilities where something of this nature occurs, but it's not based on city or processes? It could be just simply yes or no.
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you. How many property owners are there for the 142 unit proposal?
I don't know. Glancing at the staff report to see if it's in the staff report.
I'll go to the next question. Is there an independent commission that oversees the engineer's report when city council is not qualified to understand what the components and processes are, or they don't have any educational rigors to sustain the quality of an engineer's report? And that's pertinent to the drainage assessment facility that I'm asking.
Yeah, Councilmember Gomez, please move on. We've done DFADs a number of times in the past.
I'm
Please
sure
move
you
on.
have. I apologize that you don't understand my question. I could try to ask it in a different manner.
Member Gomez,
I will do that.
you're going to move on, please.
I will ask in a different manner then.
Sure.
So there's 4-stage processes, and I believe we're on the 3rd one, but I'm not exactly correct if I am or I'm not in the right process here. But according to the report, we're probably on the 3rd one. And it allows for the engineer's report to go through. So I believe there's one last step before we're able to initiate that. So what is it that we need so we can go to the next step?
There is no next step. There's only 3 steps, not 4 steps to the process. And we're at step 3. Step 2 was taken previously where you approved as the council and engineers report, and then directed effectively the election, which we're attempting to read the results for.
Okay, it says for this annexation to occur, 4 resolutions are required. 3 of the resolutions were adopted. And then it goes on to explain. And then I annotated the first one was an initiation of the annexation preparation. The second one was the reporting of the engineer. The third one is a setup of the actual hearing, and then tonight. So I interpreted those as 4.
Your time is up.
Mr. Metzler, are you free to answer that?
I would just say that the interpretation's inaccurate. The way I explained it is the accurate explanation for the process that we've gone through, which is actually taken straight from the staff report that's before you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Irving, questions
questions.
as to the staff report?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and the chair has none. With that said, the chair is going to open the public hearing and take public testimony at this time. And Madam Clerk, do we have any in-chambers requests to speak?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we're going to conclude the in-chambers public comment period. Are there requests to speak via Zoom?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So with that said, Madam Clerk, will you please set the timer for 30 seconds in case we have audience members on Zoom who wish to speak but are experiencing technical difficulties. This allows them time to address those challenges.
"30 seconds has lapsed. There are no additional speakers."
Thank you. I appreciate that. The chair brings this item back to the council. Madam Clerk, will you please tabulate the assessment ballots? And you can let me know when you've completed the tabulation.
Tabulation is complete. There is no majority protest.
All right, very good. That was my next question. So no majority protests exist. With that said, the chair invites a motion to adopt the staff's recommendation specifically as it relates to point 5 on the public hearing item number 1.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We have a first by Member Becerra, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Irving. We're going to move into discussion on the pending motion, beginning with the maker, Member Becerra.
No discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Member Gomez.
Yes, so it appears when I was witnessing the tabulation that there was only 2, meaning there was 2 property owners. So 2 property owners get to decide for a 142
Member
unit
Gomez, we're
proposal.
having discussion on the pending motion, which is whether or not to adopt point 5 on the agenda item.
And that's what I'd have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Discussion, the chair has no comments related to the pending motion. Discussion period is now closed. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the city council has taken up item number 1 by approving point 5 on that item. And we're now going to move on to the consent calendar, items number 2 through 5.
Yeah, and I'd like to comment and question 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, so just to, okay, so 3, 4, and 5. And so just as a reminder to all of my colleagues, this is a time for very minor questions for clarification or minor comments. Anything beyond that, the chair is going to ask you to make a motion to pull the item. All right, go ahead, Ms. Gomez.
For track 16720 landscaping securities, there is an approval. I'm sorry, that's number 2. I'm saying number 3. So for the track maps 16720 and 16894, are they part of today's building division activity report?
Tract 16894, I would say no. That's the item we just approved and likely hasn't seen actual home construction on it yet. In the case of tract 16720, I would expect for homes to be complete in that tract, so they likely would in fact be covered in the building division activity report.
And what is the logical connection between the monthly inspections and the monthly stops? Do the monthly inspections and monthly stop produce a redundance that requires modification?
No.
And there was no reports or memos that were set out for council. So I wanted to know what are the ramifications of the large amounts of sums of dollars that were canceled and that are reinstituted. That's for items 4 and 5. The 1.6 million and the 6,479,580.68 cents.
Can we take them up one at a time, please? So let's start with number 4.
And that question was not clear at all to me. So could you rephrase it so that I can understand it?
Yes, the city council didn't receive any reports in regards to the large sums of money that needed some cancellation. I don't know why there was a cancellation and a rewriting of checks.
I'm not sure.
For
that
number
it would be-
5.
I'm sorry, you're on 4 or 5?
$1.6 million was canceled and reissued.
And this is related to item number 4, Member Gomez?
This is in relation to item number 5.
Okay, so I had requested that you take up item number 4, so we'll do 5.
Okay.
Mr. Metzler.
I don't know why the checks were canceled and reissued. It could have been a printing error, but that notwithstanding, your finance director, Mr. John Mendiola, is the author of those 2 items. Perhaps he can offer or shed some light on the cancellation and the reissue.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Councilmember Gomez, those 2 checks are just individual checks within that 1.6 million. There were some errors on the address, so we just had to reissue them. But that does not, those 2 checks don't cover that whole 1.6. It's just a particular 2 items from that 1.6. That 1.6 covers the totality of the check run for that period, for that payroll period.
Okay, thank you. And why are we seeking ratification for number 8 in that amount, 6.4 million average?
Okay, are you still on item number 5?
4 on number 4.
All right.
That's a standard.
So it's typical language used therein?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez. With that said, a motion's in order for the council and the council acting on its various boards of directors to approve action on consent calendar items 2 through 5 in accordance with the recommendations presented on the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, is that the staff's recommendation?
To
For sure.
accept the entire consent
Yes.
agenda.
Thank you. So we have a first by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Member Becerra. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the council and the council acting on its various boards has adopted the recommendation is set out on the agenda for items 2 through 5. We're now going to move on to item number 8. This is going to become our first business in order for the written communications section. And I'll begin with Mr. Metzler, if you'd kindly tee up the item.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This item is dealing with the appointment to the vacant Planning Commission seat. As you know, the Planning Commission is a 5-member body and currently has 4 of those 5 seats occupied. We've had a vacancy due to resignation since February of this year. And since that time, we've gone through a process of advertising, accepting and reviewing applications, interviewing, making nominations. And so with that, before you are 2 candidates from the most recent solicitation, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Ismael Medina and a individual by the name of Kimberly Messon. So with that, those are the two items before for consideration. Attached to the staff write-up is a letter of interest along with a resume of each. And I'll turn it back to you, Madam Mayor. Any action is at your
Thank you
discretion.
very much. So to further introduce this item, I'd like you to know more about the selection process and criteria I used for the positions, the same process that I've used for the last number of rounds of nominations. So my objective, of course, was to bring to the council a highly qualified nominee who will be able to work on the commission immediately with little to no learning curve, as there's much work to accomplish on the commission for approximately 1 year. Tonight, I present you with two equally qualified nominees. Candidates were evaluated in three primary areas: competence, character, and commitment to the betterment of our community. Regarding competence, I focused on business savvy, leadership skills, the ability to team effectively with current commissioners and city staff, and specialized skills or knowledge commensurate to the demands of the position. The interview process was uniform, rigorous, fair, and impartial. All candidate addresses were verified as being within the city's boundaries. No preference was given to any candidate for any reason. Letters of interest and resumes were viewed as integral components of the interview. I now present my two nominees for the council's consideration. Just briefly, Mr. Medina and Ms. Messon, will you kindly stand so that our council knows who you are? Thank you very much. All right, so my council colleagues, it's my privilege to present you with, as I mentioned a moment ago, two equally capable nominees to consider for the position of Planning Commissioner. Over the course of months, it has been my pleasure to nominate highly qualified individuals with specialized knowledge and relevant experience that would translate well to the work of the commission and complement the talent that already exists there. I do so again this evening. Mr. Medina is a 15-year resident in Victorville. He possesses a BS in Business Administration with coursework in Business Management, Economics, and Marketing. His professional career spans an impressive 22 years in management, including of teams ranging from 50 to 250 members in the retail industry. He knows the importance of customer service, which is what Victorville endeavors to improve on. He knows what teamwork is, and he is keen on understanding Victorville's projects from planning through implementation. He is involved with the Victorville American Little League and the High Desert PL. From 2010 to 2020, he served in a travel baseball club as coach, umpire, volunteer, and board member. He is proud of the diversity in our community and wishes to invest his time and energy here to make it more prosperous for all and a great place for our children and families. Our second nominee, Ms. Messon, is a 24-year resident in Victorville. She possesses a BA in political science, has a certificate in international relations, and is working on her master's in public administration. Every ounce of Ms. Messon's profession has been steeped in her resolve to serve others. She cares deeply for our residents and veterans and the quality of life here. From 2017 to early 2021, she was the Deputy District Director, then later the Director for California's 8th District Congressman. Presently, she is the District Director for the County of San Bernardino Board of Supervisors, 1st District. In these roles, she has been responsible for the district's daily operations, including the oversight and management of staff. She is the key liaison to local organizations and elected officials. She is an active participant in community outreach and engagement. She presently serves on the Victor Valley Transit Authority, Victor Valley Economic Development Authority, San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office Community Commission, and the Mojave Water Agency Ad Hoc Technical Advisory Committee. Ms. Messon has demonstrated utter commitment to our community and wishes to make Victorville a better place for us all. With credentials commensurate to the position of Planning Commissioner, I'm pleased to say that each nominee presented here tonight would perform quite well in that role and would add value to the commission. Understandably, then, the chair advises that we extend to them the professional courtesy of a vote once a motion receives a second. Before I invite a motion, however, and given that Mr. Metzler and I have clearly laid out the history of this item as well as the uniform protocols and procedures used to bring these nominees forward, the chair will entertain questions tied exclusively to their suitability to fulfill the duties of planning commissioner. It is now my privilege to invite a motion. Excuse me, I take that back. Well, let's start with questions. We'll begin with Member Becerra as to suitability.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Member Gomez.
Did you say Gomez?
Questions as to help
I
you.
didn't hear my name, but I presume I was next. So
Oh, yes.
okay. So were any of these appointments part of the first round of submissions?
No. And these aren't appointments, they're nominees.
And were other nominees or first round applicants considered?
No.
And why are, I'm sorry, what did you say, Becerra? I couldn't hear you.
Member Becerra, hold on. So Member Gomez,
I'm-
if you move on, because these are the same kinds of questions I've answered before. So right now, if your questions would be tailored specifically to the individual's suitability for the
Yeah,
position.
are you trying to belittle my questions?
Of course not, Member Gomez.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course.
So if I may continue, why aren't the requirements in the item?
Member Gomez, move on.
Okay, I guess no response on that one. And what is meant by specialized knowledge?
Member Gomez, move on.
Okay, so my questions aren't responded, so I don't have any further questions.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
No questions.
Thank you. And the chair has no questions. With that said, the chair invites a motion to appoint one of the two nominees presented this evening.
Madam Mayor, I motion for Ms. Kimberly Messon to be appointed to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. We have a first. Is there a second? Chair seconds. All right, Madam Clerk, will you take the vote on the pending motion?
Councilmember Becerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Ms. Messon receives majority vote.
Thank you. So with that said, the council has appointed Kimberly Messon to fill the 5th seat on our Planning Commission. Ms. Messon, we offer you our congratulations and thank you for being willing to serve us. Mr. Medina, you are a champion in our city. We want you to know we appreciate you and your willingness to volunteer once again for our community. We thank you. All right, now we're going to take up item number 6 under written communications. And this is the Building 728 carpet replacement project. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This item involves the replacement of a little over 12,000 square feet of 23-year-old carpeting over at the headquarter facility for the Southern California Logistics Airport, Building 728. This is an item that actually did go through the competitive bidding process, satisfying your purchasing code, and having done so, we've outlined in the staff report the 3 bidders and of course the low bid. So with that, this item is carrying forward the recommendation of the low bidder. The author on this item is Mr. Eric Ray. He is actually not available today, so I'll be available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, please read the recommendation.
That the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority Board of Directors approve the award of construction agreement to Carpet Club in the amount not to exceed $76,456 for Building 728 Carpet Replacement Project CC 22-028 and authorize the airport director to execute said agreement.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, technical questions for clarification, beginning with Member Gomez.
None.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
Yeah, I have a question. It's not really pertinent to the item though.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a quote for carpet. Did we piggyback on this quote or?
I don't believe so. This was its own bid. I was actually reading the staff report thinking that this was a piggyback, but this was actually its own separate bidding
Okay, thank you.
exercise. Yeah.
That does relate, Mayor Pro Tem. Go ahead.
That's it.
All right, thank you. Member Becerra.
Just a question. Carpet Club is a Victorville business, correct?
I believe so. I'm just scrolling through.
Yes, Mariposa.
Yes, you're correct. There it is right there on page number 3. I'm sorry, page number 93. I'm sorry.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Member Becerra. And Chair has no questions. And we're now going to move on to a motion from, the Chair invites a motion from the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority Board of Directors.
I'd like to move it as recommended by staff.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first by Member Gomez, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Going to get into discussion on the pending motion, beginning with the maker, Member Gomez.
No discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Becerra.
No discussion.
Thank you. The Chair has no discussion on the pending motion. Discussion is now closed. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the SCLIA Board of Directors has adopted the recommendation as presented on the agenda. Moving on to item number 7. This is the award of construction agreement to Danton Enterprises Incorporated, DBA All-American Fence Erectors for fence installation / repairs. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Yes, Danton Enterprises currently has a contract with the Airport Authority in an amount up to $50,000. And this item's being brought for your consideration as we would like to expand the similarly natured scope of services in the amount of $22,555. That actually brings the aggregate contract amount in excess of my signature authority as a city manager per the code. And therefore, that is the reason why this is coming before you. But more particularly, what this item is attempting to do is use the Airport Authority's contract for fence work. All American Fence is the actual name that Danton does business under. And I think the simplest way to characterize is that they'll install and or replace chain link fencing. That's fairly common out at the airport, considering all the fence line that it has. And we've identified some needs at a couple of storm drain locations throughout the city, which is why Public Works is asking for the expansion to this contract. So with that, the author on this item is your Public Works and Water Director, Mr. Doug Matthews, and he is available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
That the Honorable City Council approve and authorize a construction agreement in the amount of $22,555 with Danton Enterprise, Inc., DBA All-American Fence Erectors for fence installation / repairs, which would bring the aggregate amount of city agreements with Danton Enterprises, Inc., DBA All-American Fence Erectors to $72,555 when combined with all other city departments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, Council, technical questions for clarification. We're going to begin again with Member Gomez.
Yes. How long has the fencing in the Oregon wash been as such? I know there's pictures of several things that look that they need repair.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Good evening, by the way. I'm not really sure that area ever had any fencing along the Oro Grande Wash.
And I would point you to page number 124. Mr. Matthews is in fact correct, because there's a statement in the staff report that identifies for the first location, there is not fencing, and this would be to install effectively new fencing along that stretch of the wash.
Does that also include on Topaz renewing the fencing or just fixing it up?
Yes, at that location, the fencing on top of the head wall was the victim of a hit and run accident. And so it would be to replace the chain link or repair the chain link fence above the head wall.
So this is just something procedural, or it was something that we came about that we needed to fix?
It's just for safety, public safety.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
You're
Mayor Pro
welcome.
Tem Irving.
No questions.
Thank you, Member Becerra.
Mr. Matthews, I noticed on page 141, near the Ort Grand Wash, the property appears to be that it's been cleared for a track to go in there. Is that an old movement of dirt, or no, they're getting ready to build in that area again?
So I'm getting to your page. That's the area back behind the Mall of Victor Valley, right there.
I know where it is. No, it isn't. Okay, and then on the Dos Palmas one, you said it when it was a hit and run. If we get these, if they're not hit and runs and the vehicles are still there, do we go after reimbursement?
Absolutely.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Member Becerra. And I have no questions. And now invite a motion from the council to adopt staff recommendation. If any council member would like to agree with that, feel free to say so moved.
So moved. Follow staff recommendation.
Thank you. We have a first by Member Becerra, a second by Mayor
Second.
Pro Tem Irving. We're now going to take discussion on the pending motion, beginning with Member Becerra.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Not at the moment.
Thank you. This is the time to speak if you would like
That's why it's
to.
not at the moment.
Thank you. And the chair has none. And the discussion period is now closed. Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Becerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the city council has adopted the recommendation as set forth on the agenda. Moving on to item number 9, since we've already taken up item number 8, Mr. Metzler, this is, before you begin, this is the selection committee's public member appointments to the Victorville Community Revitalization Investment Authority. That's the CREA board. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. First, I want to say thank you to the selection committee for helping us along in this process. The selection committee comprised Mayor Jones and Mayor Pro Tem Irving. And with their assistance, we as staff compiled, actually, we did the solicitation, which is the advertisement of the vacant positions, or the new positions, I should say. Received all the applications, shared those applications with the selection committee, and the selection committee did the heavy lifting to bring this item forward with recommendations of 2 individuals. It was a very competitive process. But talking a little bit about what this is. So the Community Revitalization Investment Authority, CREA is the acronym, effectively is a separate legal body and will continue to operate as a separate legal body. Even from this council, and the ultimate board is a 5-member board or a 5-member body. 2 of those are the public members, which we're recommending here tonight, and then the 3 other members would be from this body of the city council. Collectively, you'll be the CREA board. There is much to do still with this CREA board, including the adoption of a plan, much like what redevelopment used to be. A CREA will effectively serve similarly natured purposes with the intent of creating a money mechanism to help revitalize the plan area, and the plan area is envisioned at Old Town. So with that, the author on your item is Mr. Scott Webb. He's your city planner, certainly available for any technical questions or comments you might have.
Right. And Madam Clerk, will you kindly read the recommendation?
That the Honorable City Council appoint the following residents as public members of the Victorville Community Revitalization Investment Authority, CREA, Board for an initial term. Jennifer Neary, 4-year term. Steve Bletch, 2-year term.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, before we get into questions, I see that we have in our audience Ms. Jennifer Neary. Will you please stand so everyone knows who you are? Thank you, ma'am. And I've not had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Bleck in the past. Is he with us? Thank you very much, sir, for both of you for your willingness to serve. Thank you. All right, with that said, technical questions for clarification, beginning with Member Becerra.
Madam Mayor, are we allowed to ask him a question, or we ask you?
Mr. Metzler.
Mr. Metzler. Mr. Metzler, is Mrs. Neary, is she a business owner or a resident?
You know what? I'm going to
I
defer
believe it was-
to Scott Webb, who was the one most familiar with the applications and the qualification levels.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. When we reviewed these applications, we consulted with our legal counsel related to the term work. And the meanings derive that they have a connection to that area. And as you know, or may know, that Miss Neri has a lot of community involvement in Old Town through the Root organization. So her connection for qualification for this committee is by the term work. Her place of residence is unfortunately just like a stone's throw outside of the Korea boundary. But her amount of involvement in the Old Town area qualifies her as being somebody that works in the area.
And Mr. Bletch?
Mr. Bletch actually is employed. He is an owner of Santa Fe Trading Company on 7th Street, and he also resides at the location.
Okay, thank you, sir. No further questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Member Gomez.
Yes, when will the board meet and how often?
Well, following the appointments, we'll be working with the board to come up with the first date. So the first date would likely happen in December or January. To form the plan, we're required to have at least 3 meetings. So at first, we'll probably have a meeting every month. But then after that, it would be based on a need to meet.
And then what will the process be for notification?
The notification, sorry, I'll have to probably follow back up with you on that. But there's certain state statute requirements for the public notice. I just don't have those handy right now.
This would be a Brown Act compliant body, so all of the same noticing requirements that we're familiar with here would be applicable to this CREA board.
And what's the lifeline expansion of the CREA board?
The state statute allows the CREA to be in place for 45 years.
And is the CREA board advisory to the city council board or separate?
As Mr. Metzler said, it's a separate body.
And what pay of or compensation will the board members of the CREA board receive?
There is no compensation as part of this action or considered right now.
Okay, and will the CREA board have a separate email to contact board members?
I believe that we'll have that information available so the community can contact the board members, yes.
And what's the process for selecting CREA board members for the next selections, and what authority spells this process out?
The state government code that that addresses CREA, also the formation resolution that the council approved in August of this year dictates the process for selecting the public members.
And will the CREA board have general fund authority for maintenance and expenses accrued for its conduct of business or overall decisions?
I'm sorry, could you state that again?
Will the CREA board have general fund authority for any maintenance and expenses that's accrued for its conduct of business or overall decisions?
No, there will not be any governance over the general fund.
And what legal documentation will the boards have under the new resolution that was adopted August 2021?
The CREA board will govern the business of the CREA, which is related to using tax increment to fund activities within the CREA district.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that part again?
The CREA board governs the CREA authority, which has to deal with the boundary and use of tax increment for the Victorville CREA. The boundary will be established with the adoption of a plan over the next 6 months. And the CREA board will then utilize tax increment that's generated over the years within that district to enhance that district.
And what criteria was set for the selection? Well, I already asked that. That's it. Oh, actually, no, it's different. What criteria was set for the selection of the board? Did you say the resolution and state
Well,
government code CREA?
Correct. In the state statute, 3 of the members need to be city council members. And the state statute also dictates that 2 shall be public members that live or work in the CREA area.
Yeah, but what I meant to say is definition of work and residence. Is that initiated in those 2 documents as well? Or is that something that a board came up with or the council members came up with?
It's dictated in the CREA statute.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
You're
Member Pro Tem
welcome.
Irving.
No questions.
Thank you. So, Mr. Metzler, we just heard a battery of questions. Some of them were answered in the report, but others certainly we can expect as this goes forward that we're going to have formal plans brought to the council for approval and so forth. So this agenda item was really for the purpose of just appointing those 2 members, correct?
That's exactly correct. And I just want to be clear that this is really the first step in a number of steps. This is actually setting the board in place as far as the policies it wants to operate under, as far as the plan, as far as the rules, as far as what it wants to do with its money. Those are all forthcoming decisions that the CREA board gets to decide. And we can't make those decisions, in fact, until we have the board in place. So this is really the first step leading towards all of the answers to those questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Metzler. All right, with that said, the chair invites a motion from the council.
So moved.
Is that staff
So
recommendation?
moved, staff recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first by Member Becerra, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Moving on to discussion on the pending motion, beginning with Member Becerra.
No discussion.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Not at the moment.
Thank you. And the chair has none. Discussion period is closed. Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Yes, thank you. So the council has adopted the recommendation as presented on the staff. Congratulations to Jennifer Neri and Mr. Black. We're happy to have you with us. Thank you so much for your willingness to serve. All right, moving on to item number 10, city manager reports. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Just a couple first. We had a very successful event this last Friday night. It was our 2nd annual Halibou drive-through hosted here at City Hall. We had 2 drive-through lanes. All departments were represented. They were all challenged to have the scariest booth, the funniest booth. And I'm proud to say the city manager's office actually won this year. We beat out the airport and the fire department. It was a very close competition. We had a great theme, which was a Toy Story theme. We had the claw and we had a number of the characters from Toy Story. I was Buzz. We had a lot of fun. So it seems very well received. So I would look forward to doing it again next year. And then second announcement, we've already touched on it, but this Saturday is a very important day in that it's the first community workshop. The community workshop series that we have for the districting effort is in addition to the public hearing process that we have 5 public hearings in addition to the 3 community workshops. So this workshop will be held from 10 to 2 on Saturday morning in the Transit Center downtown. There will be a translator present. I will be present, certainly inviting the community to be a part of it. What's important to us is learning from our community what is a community of interest to them. So that's all I have at this time, Madam Mayor.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Metzler. Going to move on to item number 11. This is discussion and possible action regarding upcoming agenda items. We'll begin with Member Becerra. Any requests?
No, I'll cover it under my reports and council member.
Thank you. Member Gomez, requests for agenda items in the
Yes.
future?
I don't know if we've implemented this, but for community service, for community to be able to place any kind of, it's not a complaint, but many concerns that we have in the city, whether it be transportation or something that the city can deal with. I don't know if we've have brought upon some kind of government technology response so that it's them contacting us through a mechanism that we have, like an application. And so I wanted to bring that here. And if we already have something like that, you can let me know, because I'm not aware that we do. I thought we were working on something, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so Member Gomez, I'm not clear as to what you would like that item
It's
to
an
look
it's an
like.
application. So I wanted, it's an app that the community would be able, okay.
Gotcha. So yeah, before we go forward with that, Mr. Metzler, didn't we have something in the works on that some time ago? I recall that.
We did, and I don't have an update for you now, but I can certainly bring an update back.
Okay, so Ms. Gomez, we're going to forego that at this time. Let Mr. Metzler do a little research on that, and we'll take it up at a future time. Anything else?
No, that was all.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, it I think is brought to our attention that our city does not have campaign contribution limits. Is that correct?
That's not correct. In fact, I was going to request this, but I'll go ahead and.
I'll let you go
No, no,
ahead.
you don't, because you can't, because I actually forgot to print out my notes on it. So I'm not
well,
completely prepared, but
If that's incorrect, then
we
someone needs to
do in that it's unlimited. And so there's,
Well, okay.
do you want to bring that up for discussion?
I
on
would
what
like
that-
to
yeah,
bring that
okay.
back for discussion and possible action.
Yes, I'm happy to second that. And would you like that on the agenda at the soonest possible meeting or the next meeting? Soonest possible meeting. And this is for
I'm sorry.
discussion. Oh, no. I had intended to do it and didn't put my notes. So I'm glad that you did it, Mayor Pro Tem.
To clarify it, we do. It's
Yeah.
unlimited, I see, okay.
It's unlimited, but the concern is if we don't do anything, do we lose our local control? So those are the kind of the discussions that maybe we need to look at. So perfect. All right, so we have a first and a second on that. Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Could you kindly let me know who the second was?
I was.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Becerra?
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So at the soonest possible agenda, we're going to take up that new law and to determine how it affects our city and what action, if anything, the council might wish to take. All right. And since that was kind of what I was thinking about doing and didn't have to, I'm happy to move on now to item number 12. This is our final item this evening, and it's reports from council members. We'll begin with Member Becerra.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would just like to apologize to Mr. George Duran and his staff of code compliance and animal control. Everything him and his staff do on a day-to-day basis is helped to the most highest standard. For the public that feels that it's not, you always can call our city manager for any type of indiscretion that you feel that you can have your side heard. I do apologize to you and your staff, Mr. Duran. You guys keep up the good work, please. On the second one, I'm going to ask Councilmember Gomez to step down temporarily from City Council due to the fact everything that was said and done through the Attorney General, them filing charges against her. I would ask that she step down and step away from the dais so we can continue with clear work and continue everything we're doing well for the city.
All right, thank you, Member Becerra. Normally those don't fall under reports, but certainly with the issue of Mr. Duran, the comments were made a meeting or so ago that were very grievous, and I think it was appropriate to make comments. All right, Member Gomez.
Yes, Mr. Duran did sock Daniel Lopez in the back on camera on the head. It's on video.
Mr. DeBortnowski.
For my council reports.
Member Gomez,
I
can you
have the-
hold for just a moment? I need to get some clarification from our city attorney.
That's an inappropriate comment to make in a meeting like this and creates a potential claim against the city by Mr. Duran.
Thank you. So Member Gomez, please move on.
So now for my council reports, I have the following. He estado muy activa en la comunidad ayudando a familias a
Member
navegar
Gomez is
el
required to
sistema
follow
del
policy
gobierno.
and procedure and
Tuve
speak
la
in English
oportunidad
behind the
de ser
dais.
ayudada
The
a
member is
ayudar a
out
las
of
familias
order
de
and
la
will bring
ciudad de
herself to
Victorville con
order.
varios departamentos de la
Member
ciudad,
Gomez has one
como
more
el agua de
opportunity.
enforzamiento de códigos
Of order, she
municipales,
has not done so.
del
Madam Clerk,
departamento
please
de
mute the
animales y
mic.
otros departamentos que la comunidad usa mensual.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on since the member did not wish to. Quickly. All right, so I attended to, Member Gomez is speaking from a microphone that is not permitted behind the dais. Member Gomez, will you kindly turn that mic off? This is a clear and apparent attempt to obstruct the normal flow of an agenda item. Member Gomez will kindly turn that off. All right. In an attempt to restore order, as it is the chair's job to do, we are going to take a 5-minute recess. We will return at 7:34.
So many buttons. What am I trying to do?
All right, we are resuming open session. Item number 12, Mayor Pro Tem Irving has asked to be excused from this meeting, so we have the 3 council members behind the dais. Proceeding on with the chair's reports. So I'm just going to kind of rattle off everything I've done in the past while. So I attended the State of the County address, the SBCTA Board of Directors meeting, and Prior Mountain Desert meeting. Ms. Gomez is leaving the dais without the permission of the chair. May the clerk note it, and we no longer have a quorum. And so this meeting is adjourned. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. But as a matter of housekeeping, all council members, staff, and audience members will kindly vacate the premises and the chambers within 10 minutes. That's at 7:45, so that these facilities may be cleaned and secured from the evening. No members of the public are permitted behind the dais.